Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of No More Kids in Scientology. And in today's episode, you guys, we are going back to 23 years ago when September 11th happened. We were at the hotel. I will never forget being on the second floor of the Coachman building, being told that there was a terror attack. We weren't allowed to read the newspapers and we weren't allowed to read the end data, they told us. They told us there's going to be a very special briefing from you guys. Debbie Cook is going to do that briefing and she's going to tell you everything that you need to know, because word started to spread inside the hotel. As insulated as the Scientology hotels are, the word started to get out. And we started getting told and we started to get scared because, a lot of these things we didn't understand what it was, even to have a terror attack. The meeting happened at 12:30. Debbie Cook pulled us all in. It must have been like, I don't know, 400, 500 people in the auditorium, where she began to tell us that the world was literally on fire, that we were really at fault for not clearing the planet faster, and that this was a direct indicator that we were not doing our job fast enough, that we weren't expanding, and that we weren't getting our statistics high up enough. So yes, that's who Debbie Cook is, the woman who sits there cashing checks on a monthly basis to shut the F up about the lies that she spewed with a straight face, lies that she used to coerce her underage kids, that she went around recruiting from all over the world. Debbie Cook had kids from Switzerland. Debbie Cook had kids from Germany. Debbie Cook had kids from Denmark. Debbie Cook had kids from Italy, from Spain, from England, from Australia, South Africa, Mexico, Argentina, Chile, Colombia, Venezuela, Costa Rica, Canada. Yeah, she went around internationally. She sent recruiters. Oh, let's not forget Siberia. She went and sent recruiters to bring her child slaves on a weekly basis. And on September 11, she pulled us in to tell us that we were not getting our statistics up high enough, and that because the audits were not being done on people, because the ethics handlings weren't being done on the people, and because people were not getting through enough of the disgusting grooming courses that Scientology sells, that was the reason that things like this happened. So you really do have to wonder if Debbie Cook talked to David Miscavige by the time she started to do her little misinformation, blatant misinformation meeting, because that's what was going on with these adults. They knew better, but they were lying. They were lying on purpose. They were lying because Debbie Cook was so proud of bringing in $2 million a week to charge people to upwards of $2 million cumulative in a week. So-called donations, so-called tax write-offs that they were getting from the IRS to go come and get serviced by, including but not limited to, children, including but not limited to foreigners, that we have expanded the definition of trafficking when you bring foreigners from other countries when foreigners have no clue how a legal system works in the United States. It's said foreigners that are at a horrendous disadvantage of understanding just how illegal the scheme that they're being recruited into actually is. And plenty of child foreigners is what these people were going for. It was the fact, you guys, that they had so many kids from so many different countries that always made us believe that we were not in harm's way and that this was very, very normal and that there was no problem. So this was the so-called wake-up call leaked by none other than WikiLeaks. The chat is not working. Oh no, what's going on with the chat? Can you guys not chat? Interesting. I'm just gonna talk about this, you guys, but let's just want to make sure you guys, if there's anything I can do from my end. I don't know why the chat's not working. Does it work? Testing, testing. It's working now, I think. Oh, okay, now it's coming. Okay, you guys, here's the so-called wake-up call, okay, put out by Chairman of the Board Religious Technology Center, so-called Chairman of the Board Religious Technology Center, so-called David Miscavige. Now, since we left the hotel, and not so many few days ago, we actually found out that Emily's mother was writing stuff to make David sound like he knew what in the hell the high school dropout, sycophant of convicted felon L. Ron Hubbard, daddy issues AF, really going, oh, my daddy is L. Ron Hubbard. My daddy, L. Ron Hubbard, really did say everything that is so wonderful and great and amazing. That man that had zero education, we were told, wrote this thing. Come to find out, Gail Armstrong has been his little writer, the one that writes and makes him look so-called intellectual, so-called knowing what in the hell he is talking about. And we're going to start to see here in this thing a very common theme of Gail Armstrong's brand of misinformation. Because you know what is the same shit with a different level of air freshener. That's what Gail Armstrong writes. So here we got the so-called wake-up call. So imagine September 11th, 23 years ago, David Miscavige put out a thing calling it the wake-up call. And 23 years later, we are calling on all Scientology adults, consenting adults that frequent the hotels, that have a paid membership at the hotel, like Emily, like everyone else. I mean, again, for the 10th billion time, if anybody wants to claim that this is a religion, by all means, let us know what other religion requires paid memberships. Because that's what we need to really understand for ourselves today. Last time we checked, no other religion that we know of requires paid memberships just to be a so-called participant of said religion. So Scientology is a one and only one, and we are calling on a wake-up call for all paid consenting adult members of the Scientology hotels to truly wake the F up. And we're gonna respond and react to all the lies that are being spewed here by David Miscavige and his sycophant minions that were helping him create this level of dysfunction, this level of atrocities, this level of Really, let's blame the children that you already work 24/7, 365. Let's really tell the children that you convinced to become slaves at your hotel that they are the reason that planetary clearing isn't happening. So here's the first quote that they use all the time. This is a quote to sanitize L. Ron Hubbard's image, you guys. This is called a sanitization of image quote by L. Ron Hubbard, a completely depraved, a completely cognitive dissonance line that isn't consistent with anything else written in his rhetoric. So right away you go, oh yeah, L. Ron Hubbard says that a civilization without insanity, without criminals, and without war, where the able can prosper and honest beings can have rights, and where man is free to rise up to greater heights, are the aims of Scientology. Really, L. Ron Hubbard? Because let's start tearing apart your BS pitch, L. Ron Hubbard. A civilization without criminals. Interesting that your religion is so interested in making sure that there's no criminals because you launder their crimes, right, L. Ron Hubbard? Is that why you didn't want any criminals around? Because you wanted the criminals inside of your hotel. You wanted to sell the criminals the packages to launder their image. You wanted to sell the criminals a way for them not to end up talking to any law enforcement. So, yeah, L. Ron Hubbard wants a civilization without criminals. He wants the self-admitted criminals to be his sycophants. That's how all his adult consenting proteges get addicted to L. Ron Hubbard and their little clique, where they have a very safe space to discuss, including but not limited to self-admitted felonies. We're talking class A felonies. We're talking top tier felonies. We're talking the criminals or most criminal acts is what they want to know. And all Scientology executives, all Scientology adults know who the criminals are, what they've done, when they did it, where they did it, how many times they did it, and they've all done payments to wash it all away. So that's the civilization that L. Ron Hubbard here is pitching. And all this BS about rising to greater heights, L. Ron Hubbard, if you are enslaving kids, you are rising to the height of a full-blown convicted psychopath felon. Just like you were when France convicted you for fraud, when you were child trafficking 12-year-old Shelley Miscavige in your ship. You weren't racing to any type of greater heights, were you, L. Ron Hubbard? You were just literally the epitome of a convicted felon on the run with children in his ship, children that had been provided by Scientology parents, children that Scientology parents made a calculated consenting adult decision that if I provide L. Ron Hubbard with my 12-year-old, what am I going to get in return? Oh, yeah, I'm not going to have to pay for their school. Oh, yeah, I'm not going to have to pay for their clothes. Oh, yeah, I'm not going to have to pay for their food. Oh, yeah, I'm not going to even have to have any legal responsibilities over my child. Let me sign my child up for this garbage, is what Scientology parents said with a straight face. And any Scientology parent that really wants to tell us today that, oh no, you're so misunderstanding everything, we really thought we were saving something, double check if you saved anything, as you were roped in to be conspiring. It's called conspiracy, criminal conspiracy, when you aid and abet in the furtherance of criminal acts being perpetrated in this United States or across international waters, like L. Ron Hubbard was doing with 12-year-old Shelley Miscavige on his ship, with 16-year-old David Miscavige being shipped from New Jersey for L. Ron Hubbard to have his way with him. David was underage once upon a time. David was the literal poster child of child trafficking once upon a time. And David sits at the very top of this as the literal tip in the iceberg of the dysfunction. So let's really read what David is saying. David, or, Gail Armstrong. It's time to get busy, very busy. Every Scientologist, everywhere. The terrorist attacks of this day demonstrate the destruction of a small minority of suppressive persons can wreak. If nothing else, it also demonstrates why our mission is so vital and why speed in accomplishing our aims is of paramount importance. Bluntly, we are the only people on earth who can reverse the decline. And we do not have an endless amount of time to pull it off. Every sector of Scientology activity plays a vital role that must be fulfilled. No matter what forceful retaliation is exacted against the culprits, it will not make our world at peace or without war. So right there, you get into the head of either Gail Armstrong or David Miscavige, whoever in the hell is writing this, to really start giving you guys an insight that David Miscavige does not believe that forceful retaliation exacted on culprits will make peace. So just how you hear this all the time, just why all of you don't understand why Emily Armstrong was all about Danny Masterson, because she was groomed as a child to believe that you can commit whatever criminal act. You can act as unhinged as you want. You can be as outside of the law as you possibly can. But don't worry about it. The technology of L. Ron Hubbard is what is going to float away whatever criminal act you did, whatever criminal crime you literally perpetrated. And here it is, getting pitched to all Scientologists. So before you go, oh, David is the one, they're all in it. They're all believing it. They're all sustaining it. They're all exemplifying it. And that's what's getting called out. So right here, it tells you that, who cares about forceful retaliations, but that's not going to make any difference. So it's really giving what was being pitched inside of the Scientology hotels. Countless wars have proven that. So yeah, why? Why retaliate against culprits when all it's going to do is nothing? Because other things will happen. I mean, how stupid can anyone be with a straight face pitching this level of garbage? And yes, as children, you guys, you better believe that we thought, oh yeah, it makes sense what David is telling us. He's saying that, if you hold people accountable for having broken the law, that's not going to stop anything from happening later. You know what, David? It does. When the law actually catches up to culprits, when the law actually gets enforced on people that are breaking it, it sends a message. Can you believe that? Guess breaking news to all of you Scientologists. When the law is actually applied, guess what happens? The people that are committing that crime do get the message. Do go, maybe I don't want to be locked up for 100 years, a la Keith Rainier. Maybe I want to not be involving myself in trafficking of humans and children and the elderly. Maybe because the law will be applied, I should be making better informed, consenting adult decisions, given the fact that if you are a full-grown man or woman, you will be judged, you will be held accountable, you will not be able to defer your literal aiding and abetting of all the criminal acts you do to, oh no, it happened over there, don't worry about it. Like, oh, I didn't know what I was doing, but you video recorded it. I didn't know what I was doing, but you transcribed it. I know what I was doing, but you supervised it. You case supervised all of the dysfunction, all of the data mining of the felonies being literally instructed to children to produce for you. You what? You want to all claim that you didn't know? If you were being held accountable, a lot of people would be making different decisions today as to what they really want to do with their lives. As long as the law is not enforced, as long as the IRS keeps pretending that the American Constitution is a piece of garbage document, that the IRS doesn't give an F it exists, as long as that is happening, guess what happens? More children get recruited. More children get signed up to the billion-year scam contract from hell. So that contract is blood dripping off the hands of the IRS agents that as of today are really sitting there in their office with their head up your you-know-what, pretending that this couldn't be more nonprofit, that is a nonprofit activity to circumvent the law in America. I mean, by all means, IRS agents, by all means, IRS lawyers. Let's hear from the legal department of the IRS and its leadership. We were children inside of those hotels. We had no idea how civics worked. We had no idea how the law worked. We were just being told that it didn't matter to exact any type of retaliations on culprits because it doesn't make a difference. That's what David was telling us via Debbie Cook. So let's really hear from the legal department of the IRS to make it make sense to the kids that didn't go to school, thanks to the IRS agents sitting in those offices today, giving the monetized incentives for self-admitted felons to really go, let me confess every single aspect of the felonies and let me circumvent the law. Because the courts of the United States are too lazy to want to apply any laws. Or apparently they're also going with the pitch from David Miscavige that no matter how forceful retaliation is exacted against culprits, it doesn't work because, you know, bad shit is going to happen anyways. So who cares? Just help yourself to some kids. As long as men have reactive minds, rationality across the dynamics is not possible. So really let that sink in. According to David Miscavige, if nobody had a reactive mind, then no criminal act would ever be done. So all of you who are wondering why everybody in Scientology is so okay that self-admitted felons are forgiven, you see it right there. Oh, let's just get rid of his reactive mind. It's going to fix everything. You have no idea how much it's going to fix to get rid of a reactive mind. Imagine the reactive mind is the delusion of the convicted felon that pitched this dysfunctional technology to his sycophant proteges, so drunk on power, so deluded, so about committing the criminal acts, so about typing that who cares? Retaliation for actual criminality doesn't matter, because if you get rid of the reactive mind, what is going to take place? World War II and its mission of genocide was spurred by a psychiatrist's myth of racial superiority. Imagine that. World War II and its mission of genocide was spurred on by a psychiatric myth of racial superiority, paging Gail Armstrong. Did you get this line from Gail Armstrong, David? Because that's what is giving here. We know that Gail's favorite boogeyman in the world is the psychiatrist. And imagine that, what is it that L. Ron Hubbard called it? Oh yeah, The criminal accuses others of those things that the criminal is doing. So let's see how that applies to you. World War II and its mission of genocide was spurred on by a psychiatric myth of racial superiority. Who is in the literal business of racial superiority? Who could that be? Who could that be? Oh, let's just go a little bit back just to really check if you didn't just give away that you are the ones that are literally white supremacists from hell, racial supremacists from hell, really wanting to talk about World War II and, oh, it was so bad about racial superiority. Bluntly, we're the only people on earth, the only literal italics, you guys, right there. You all see it with your own eyes. We are the only people on earth who can reverse the decline. So who is in the business of claiming themselves superior? Who? Reducing Hitler's army to dust, killing millions in the process, did not end it. I mean, again, you guys, do you see how this is going? It's like, yeah. Reducing Hitler's army to dust. Breaking news to you, Gail Armstrong. Breaking news to you, David Miscavige. Breaking news to you that you already know what in the hell you are saying, but you're just literally muddying the waters. Breaking news to you, yes, reducing Hitler's army of sycophants that also, very much like you, read the pitch from Hitler, a book. That's all it took. One book from one man written, Hitler. And then all of a sudden, abominations were what? Normalized at an industrial size scale, the likes of which no one has ever seen. And guess what? You've replicated that exact model inside of your disgusting child abuse ridden hotels. And before you want to act confused, David and Gail Armstrong, don't, because you know what you do? You were putting kids in gaslighting chambers. Those are your beloved audits. You couldn't be more stupid. You couldn't be more disgusting. The audits are gaslighting chambers, breaking news to your stupidity. You really want to cite history. You really want to cite that, yeah, who cares about destroying Hitler's army as if that made any difference? Well, it did. It did make a difference. Believe it or not, it made a huge difference. Suicide bombings at Pearl Harbor led to atomic bombs wiping out whole cities. Yet suicide bombings of an even more brutal nature, previously unimaginable, have now occurred. Every one of these attacks and endless world conflicts can be traced to the lack of real technology of the mind. Damn, and reliance on false mental therapies of psychiatry and psychology. Why is Gail Armstrong, white supremacist, that she is pitching? You're the only people that can really do anything about anything. That's called you having a delusion, Gail Armstrong. So check your MF self. Check yourself on a mirror. You're no supreme than nobody. You couldn't be more implicated up to your neck and ears in this fake, false pitch that you wrote for David, or that you help him write, or that you help him edit, or that you help them do whatever, because all of these psychiatry talking points are your legacy, Gail Armstrong. You have all your magazines to go and take a little quick look back so you can start, codifying how many lies have you put on the public record. See, if the law would actually catch up to you, Gail Armstrong, then the problem would stop. If the law would actually catch up to David Miscavige, then the problem would stop. Turns out when you do hold culprits accountable, the problem does stop. Don't be fooled. It is not normal for people to agree to suicide missions in killing others. Such people are not born, they are made. I mean, this is called an admission of guilt. Gail Armstrong knows that we weren't born to do audits. We were made, we were groomed as kids. David Miscavige knows that children aren't born to be ethics officers. They are groomed and they are made to do it. So they're very, very clear on what it takes to be an extremist organization. They couldn't be more the literal poster childs of extremism. Dangerous AF, because they really are the wolves in sheep's clothing, really wanting to devour all childhoods that they can get their hands on. Because that's what's underneath this fake pitch. They're getting children being brought to them, being given to their parents, handed to them by parents in silver MF platters. My parents had already paid upwards of $50,000 by the time I was 15 to really be delivered to David, to be really delivered to Debbie Cook. Oh, look, we got a clear and a class 4 auditor. He started very early at 12. He's such a prodigy. Everyone at the hotel was clapping. Everyone at the hotel was, oh, you're so wonderful and you're so great. And it's more disgusting than anything anyone could possibly imagine. Such people are not born, they are made. It is done through drugging, hypnotism, and implanting. The stock in trade of the psychs. Hypnotism is what they do in those gaslighting chambers, in those so-called audits. They're hypnotizing you. Drugging, they don't need it. They don't want the drugs. They just want you to, get the abuse without a drug. They want you fully conscious. They want you really there. They don't want any other, so that you really do think that this is you. That's how they really rope you in and go, oh yeah, this is you. You're not on a drug. You couldn't be more aware of this. This is not conjecture. Okay? This is not conjecture according to Gail Armstrong and David Miscavige. It is a fact. You know what's not conjecture? That your entire Scientology business model is the epitome of the child trafficking laws not being applied. David and Gail Armstrong. That is a fact, and that is not conjecture. So double check with all of those attorneys, David and Gail, that you have on speed dial, attorneys that you have entered into a client-attorney relationship, attorneys that are supposed to owe you, staying within the confines of the law, so you are not facing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years in criminal liability for literally being the top of the pyramid racketeering child trafficking scheme that you got yourselves involved in. So do go check with your lawyers what constitutes child trafficking. What happens when children's passports are systemically, institutionally locked up? What happens to Debbie Cook collecting checks right now? The woman that ordered that to be done in those hotels, David, in case Debbie never told you that that was her standard operating procedure, in case Debbie didn't want you to know. You got it right there on speed dial. Go ask her, yo, Debbie, were you locking up all the kids' passports? Did you have evolutions where they would go and check your drawers, making sure you weren't hiding your passport? This was Debbie Cook's security force. Oh, let's really do an inspection on everyone's room. Let's go through everyone's drawers. Let's go through your underwear, underage kids' underwear, to go see if they're not hiding their valuable document, because we really all need to protect it. So that's what's not conjecture. That's what's a fact. And there's no doubt to consider the fact that it's a primary suspect. Osama bin Laden has a psychiatrist as his right-hand man. Yeah, Just like that, you guys were like psychiatrists, helped Obama bin Laden, and then they destroyed the buildings. Oh my God, I will never go to a psychiatrist. What if I end up like Osama bin Laden? If I go to a psychiatrist, like maybe I'll go crazy like Osama bin Laden. So as a child, you really do buy the pitch from these MFers. As a child, you go, oh, they must really know what in the hell they're talking about. I mean, they sound real sure of themselves. Debbie Boykin came and put her little jacket on with her military uniform, with her captain bars here, and I'm Debbie Cook, and let me really talk to you about military situations in the world. That was the briefing. While we will continue to fight psychiatric influence and brutality until those plagues are forgotten memory. Plagues. You're calling mandated reporters that children get cut off access to a plague. Imagine being Gail Armstrong and writing that with a straight face. Oh yeah, mandated reporters are the plague. The war against psychiatry is because none of these sycophants of a convicted felon wanted us anywhere near any type of mandated reporter. Period, full stop. While we will continue to fight psychiatric influence and brutality until those plagues are forgotten memory, there's only one step in achieving our primary mission for each and every being. So that's how they really, oh yeah, it's so religious. Look, we're talking to beings, child beings that are adults. So they're going to get this pitch just like any other adult, right? Because we were all just adults in small bodies. Very religious wake-up call that we're seeing here for ourselves. And it's not just the violence that we have recently witnessed, it's everything that the violence potentially wreaks in terms of economic and social collapse, not to mention the pervasive apathy which terrorists seek to instill, leaving a population that can only think of death. We are the only ones who can change that tone. So vital to conquering evil. There is a white supremacist pitch again by David Miscavige. He did put his name here, even if you were helped by, I don't know, who helped you write this, David? Or do you really just lock yourself up in some ivory tower and just came up with all this disgusting rhetoric yourself? Because that would be great to start understanding today. Really going with, oh yeah, we're the only ones who can change that tone. So vital for conquering evil. You know what's so vital for conquering evil? That the LAPD does their job, that they're getting paid to do. That's what's vital to conquering evil. You know what else would be very, very vital to conquering evil? That the Clearwater Police Department stops literally having their head up there, you know what, on a full-time basis, pretending that kids that are getting this briefing on the morning of a terror attack in America by a woman who is Ghislaine Maxwell on steroids and a half, has full unfettered access to them because all their Scientology parents are A-okay with that. That's what's actually vital to conquering evil. That the laws of this country, that the laws of this nation actually do get enforced. That the Constitution isn't just a platitude document for politicians to flaunt around. You guys, we got rid of slavery in America. Oh yeah, very, very abolished. That's your evil. You turned all kids into child slaves. By all means, hire more high-paid attorneys that want to get themselves with a client-attorney relationship with you so they can all put their law licenses on the line and really start answering the questions of the kids that have been effed over by all of these disgusting degenerates, sycophants of a convicted felon that have no defense for the abominations that, very much like Hitler placing children in gaslighting chambers, weren't about saving our world, weren't about improving society, weren't about doing anything but aggrandizing their pathetic infantile egos. It's not a new phenomenon. These factors have existed in society throughout our 51 years. So imagine that you're now 74, thanks to the IRS. Imagine that you're 74 years laundering criminal acts from self-admitted PDF files. Imagine that you are 30, what was it? 1993 to 2000, 31 years in getting them tax write-ups by the IRS. So that's how much skin in the game this country has before anybody wants to go, oh, but they don't know any better. And, you know, everyone's innocent until proven guilty. This document proves you how guilty they are. This is what's inside their head. This is what they pitch to underage kids that have no education, that have no way to fight back the level of misinformation being implanted, to borrow their little word. That's what you were doing to the kids, implanting them with your disgusting grooming, with your disgusting lies that you all knew were lies, is what's so egregious about this. It's not that you were like, oh, so clueless in some mountain where, yes, you got very deranged and you had so no access to anything that you could just be like, oh, oopsie, we just got so deranged because we were so insulated. You and Gail were hobnobbing with all the top tier lawyers of this country. All the idiots that said, you know what would be really great for my firm? To cash checks from a multi-billion-dollar church that really is going to pay us a lot of money, that really is not going to employ us that much, but you know, we're just going to get all our partners here at the firm really happy, taking our little vacations, buying the universities for our kids so that they go to law school and they really learn about the law. Because again, where are the universities of this country teaching law? Standing on the sidelines of this nefarious, disgusting, abominable insult to what the Constitution stated was abolished. It guaranteed it. How was child slavery made great again in this country? Who did that? Not David, not Debbie Cook, and not Gail Armstrong. It's the attorneys that they hired to lie on their behalf. It's the attorneys that lied to the courts, that lied to the IRS, the idiots at the IRS who couldn't have been more idiotic or easy to manipulate. All it took is Gail writing some cacamimi stories. The IRS really wants to do crazy, illegal stuff. And then the IRS was like, okay, no worries. You're nonprofit. Grab kids from all over the country. Grab kids from all over the world. Bring them in and enslave them. We will back you up that enslaving children is a religious activity. That's what the IRS agents are saying with their mouth, are saying with their actions, and are saying with the tax write-offs that they have full records of. We're talking about money talks. So before anybody gets confused, the IRS gets told in here, I donated 100 grand this year. I donated $1 million over here. Give me my tax write-off over here. And the IRS, full knowing how the rhetoric of the convicted felon that's been accessible to all, you guys. I mean, even this stupid document that was supposed to be so confidential was easily found. WikiLeaks leaked it decades ago. And I guess nobody sees anything wrong with this. They just go, oh, very humanitarian, those people there. Very nonprofit. At times, they are hidden by social veneer or materialism, nifty cars, fancy houses, an economic boom that only existed on paper with the latest .com worth billions one day and not 1 cent the next. Interesting that you, David, are projecting on nifty cars, fancy houses, fancy, disgusting hotels is what you all have. To what was it? Oh, yeah, to cover up social veneer of materialism, to cover up all your crimes, to cover up all your disgusting things that you do to children. All it took for the idiots at the Clearwater Police and the LAPD is well, this is a nice hotel. It looks kind of 5 stars. It's not like self-admitted PDF files would go, let's take the kids to a 5-star hotel instead of a motel that is run down on the side of the road. Because that's all that ever gets pitched. Apparently, the LAPD is so stupid that they just go, oh, if it's not a rundown hotel and motel, then it doesn't fit the criteria. It's called social veneer materialism. Exactly what David Miscavige is projecting here. It's called fancy houses, fancy mansions, fancy Grant Cardone and Elena Cardone with their fancy mansions. Wouldn't you want to be like them? Look even deeper and you find mankind's humanitarian objectives heading in the direction of messed and artificial intelligence, all towards denial of the spirit. Oh yeah, David, because you and Debbie Cook are really pressed about the spirit getting denied. Meanwhile, you literally deny the childhoods of all the children that you all abused. So why are you so pressed about someone, the spirit being denied? I mean, how pathetic, how stupid can you possibly be? Seriously. This is a document that, mind you, all of our Scientology parents read. So before you go, oh, the Scientology parents had no clue, the Scientology parents got given this thing. Scientology parents were brought to the briefing that Debbie Cook was giving first to only the staff, but then don't worry about it. She called in all the public, all of our parents to give them that briefing as well, to give them a different version. Because you know what? To us, the kids that worked there that had signed the billion-year contract, we were yelled at, we were screamed at. You couldn't be more incompetent. You couldn't be more lazy. You couldn't be not making the statistics go high enough for these horrible things happening in the world. And then when they had to get the people that actually pay for it, like our parents that were on the outside, oh, I don't want to sign the billion-year, but I'll pay for my services. Those people just got told, oh my God, you guys, you have no idea. We really want to help. We really want to do a lot of nonprofit work. So why don't you buy more audits? Why don't you buy more ethics handlings? And why don't you buy more disgusting grooming courses to really help us get to our objective? So yeah, all about the denial of the spirit. Instead of man, computers are the supposed salvation, evidenced by what comprises the world's largest industry, generating billions for its owners. Well, you know what else is generating billions for you, David Miscavige, Debbie Cook, and all the people that were trafficking us? The services you were selling. So it's giving, you're very, very pressed, very, very jealous that there's other industries that are economically doing better than you. And that really is supposed to be doom and gloom. And what has this ignorance of the spirit and reliance on messed, rot computers, heralded as amazing, but only capable of popping up an address book, phone number, mail order catalog, or the newest, hold on to your seats, let's really expand this, or the newest what? Pornographic site to restimulate and fixate the attention of users. Oh, David, you really, really pressed about pornographic sites. Interesting. Interesting that that's what you were pressed about. Interesting that computers only can provide you with a phone number, a mail order catalog, or porn. Interesting that that's all how you have viewed computers. You know why they were hating so much on computers, you guys? Because computers provided the capacity to communicate outside, to put information, to combat the misinformation war. that they were weighing on all their disgusting sycophants that were paying for this. But again, I mean, advocate for them too. They didn't know. They didn't look out any sources. They compromised their critical thinking skills. They became infantile degenerates, really wanting to be told by David and Gail Armstrong how the world functioned. So the liability is in your hands, Scientology parents. You want to go to a hotel to outsource your critical thinking skills, to outsource your adulthood, to outsource your freedom of choice and decision, and you know, digesting facts of how the world works so you can make informed decisions as adults. So by all means, how does this make any sense to be you today? How can you, any of you, be defending this? So yeah, David, very, very pressed about the pornographic site that restimulates and fixates the attention of users. What do you think fixates the attention of users inside of the hotels? Bingo, the audits. What else do you think fixates the attentions of users inside of the hotel? Bingo, ethics handlings. Bingo, disgusting grooming courses. So I guess porn and Scientology have that one thing in common, fixating attention. That's what they're designed to do, to fixate. And in Scientology, they're very, very, very interested in finding out if any of their adult sycophants paying to launder their felonies are, checking out any of these type of sites right there. Oh yeah, don't go to any site that is this because, oh my God, really? You're going to have to pay 100 hours, and don't worry, the IRS is going to launder it all for you as soon as you tell us how many sites that contain this type of material that you got fixated on. Because that's what they were told. Oh no, you looked at this? Did you look at this? Oh no, that's just a fixation. Like, we have the technology to unfixate you. So yeah, David Miscavige really wants to clear a planet by doing that. Imagine how stupid. But they can't help one human being. Computers have helped us, David, contrary to your belief. Sorry to shock you. But contrary to your belief, it's a computer that gave us access to different info. It's a computer that made us start looking at things different than the regurgitated false pitch you and Gail were putting together. So computers, breaking news to you, an instrument can be actually very beneficial, more beneficial than your disgusting gaslighting audits, more beneficial than your disgusting grooming courses being done with children with teddy bears and dolls. Definitely more helpful than that. Definitely more helpful than that. Just as almost high technology of the world couldn't prevent a psychotic killing thousands by striking at the heart of what symbolizes the world's superpower. Literally, you guys. Book one was written in the aftermath of World War and the threshold of the Cold War. It was as true today as it was then. Okay, David. It was as true. Book one, and for those that don't know what book one, you guys, book one is Dianetics, the book. The same literal book, Dianetics, that with 100% straight face pitches, and I had the quote here, but I can't find it right this second. Let me see. I can't find the quote right this second, but we will post it again on our community tab and we will reference it here. So just so you know, so that anybody goes, okay, Serge, L. Ron Hubbard did say on book one That if a 7-year-old girl is having problems with getting passionately kissed by a grown-ass man, that it's her problem, her issue, her disconnect. Of course, today they don't think that. Of course, literal Emily and her mother, Gail, would not think that, would not be okay with 7-year-olds getting kissed. Wrong. Wrong. That's what it says right here. Book 1 is as true today as it was then. So anybody that really wants to go, they water down their beliefs. No, they didn't. Anyone that wants to say they're not as extreme as they were, yes, they are. And here's David Miscavige admitting it in full. Book 1 was written in the aftermath of World War, and the threshold of Cold War is as true today as it was then. The book was more than an assault on the reactive mind. It was a plea for people to get on board and apply its revelations as the only solution to war and destruction. So there it is, pitched by David, that the revelations of book 1, including the kissing of 7-year-old girls, is what you need to do to really stop a war. It's called The Devil is in the Details. It's called Stop Being Glib. Stop being told that it's a religion. Stop being told that we really want to save a world, when it tells you right here, condoning what book 1 said in David's own words. David said, book 1 was written, and yes, everything that was written in that book, literally decades ago, literally pitching pedophilia at an industrial size scale to all those hotel adults that grab the book and says, David told us that whatever's in this book couldn't be more applicable today. So if I kiss my 7-year-old girl passionately, like Miriam Francis' dad helped himself to, like all the PDF files that abused me helped themselves to, then it was our fault. Our fault. So these beliefs couldn't be more relevant, couldn't be more indefensible, but leave it to the corporate media to never bring it up and never actually make a point of it, and never stand and never advocate for kids, and never call out these depraved, disgusting people that have written over and over who they are, that have told all the courts of these United States, all the FBI offices of these United States, that go, okay, well, David did say that, but religion, do whatever, help yourself. Separation of church and state. Oh yeah, we really separated here in America. You're so separated that you literally have a tier where you can be a slave. That's how the separation of church and state works for all the kids that got trafficked by David and Debbie Cook. Talking about, yeah, it was really a plea for people to get on board. Oh yeah, we were pleading people to get on board of kissing 7-year-old girls with grown-ass mans. Imagine that. That has not been mainstream. Thank MF God. The Cold War ended and the Berlin Wall came down. The Berlin Wall coming down, you guys, at the hotel. Fun fact, real short, little side notice. When the Berlin Wall came down, we were told, you guys, we did it. The OT7s went in session and were told to make the Berlin Wall come down. Technology of L. Ron Hubbard is amazing. Technology of L. Ron Hubbard is resolving all the wars in the world. That's what the Berlin Wall represented. Imagine that. We were just literally told, breaking news, the Berlin Wall was taken down, and it's because people were going on OT7 sessions to take it down. All political enemies of 1950s are allies today. Oh, look at that. But just as Dianetics predicted, unless we attack the natural enemy of man, the reactive mind, man will always be faced with turmoil, danger, and death. Isn't that great, you guys, that in 1950, law enforcement was doing their job. Isn't that great, you guys, that all the way back then, the FBI was grabbing copious boxes of highly incriminated, detailed notes of what the crimes were. But the FBI today stands as an ally to these people. The LAPD today stands as an ally to these people. The Clearwater Police Department today stands as an ally to these people, and they flaunt it here. The IRS, that was an enemy before, now an ally, thanks to Dianetics, thanks to what that disgusting book said to do to 7-year-old girls. Thanks to that, we're really getting somewhere, apparently. Oh, here's a quote from L. Ron Hubbard. A science of mind is a goal which has engrossed thousands of generations of men. Armies, dynasties, and whole civilizations have perished for the lack of it. Rome went to dust for the want of it. China swims in blood for the need of it. And down in the arsenal is an atomic bomb. Its hopeful nose fully armed in ignorance of it. L. Ron Hubbard. So in what world is L. Ron Hubbard, the convicted felon of fraud, appropriately convicted of fraud in France? All anyone with a 2-brain cell has to do is read this quote and go, wait, you're pitching science, but you're delivering religion? Science and religion aren't interchangeable, L. Ron Hubbard. How stupid can you possibly be? Didn't you tell all your minions to go and clear their words to really understand what the words are? Well, you have a misunderstood on the word science. You have a huge misunderstood on the word science, L. Ron Hubbard, because science, technology, and theology aren't interchangeable. Theology is one thing, technology is another. Science is one thing, religion is another. So breaking news to you, and to you too, David Miscavige, that really wanted to put this quote here. We have the technology and organization to overcome any obstacle facing this planet today. There you go, you guys. They have the technology. The what? The fair gaming technology to what? To cajole the IRS into giving you corrupt deals, to cajole the LA City Council to type with a straight face. We just saw this yesterday. LA City Council, oh, let's really make it a crime to protest anywhere near sensitive areas. So yeah, apparently the technology is working on the LA City Council of LA. The technology of L. Ron Hubbard is working on the corrupt LAPD up to their neck and ears in complicity in enabling child trafficking at an industrial size scale. And also the technology is working great at the Clearwater Police, where it couldn't be more workable. It could not be any more workable. The greater threat of the atomic bomb was not a destructive power. It was hysteria and apathy it would inflict on the population, precisely what terrorism is accomplishing today. You know what was inflicting hysteria and apathy? Being inflicted on underage kids. That's why your brand of terrorism, David Miscavige, Debbie Cook, and Gail Armstrong, and all the other ones that are too many to name, inflicted on kids. Your brand of child terrorism made us apathetic, made us feel total hysteria as we were being abused, as we were being forced, coerced, which is a crime. So they know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. They know that they're writing about themselves, but they always go, it's over there. It's over there. Oh, everyone else does it except for us. We want to really save everybody. Oh no, we really want to, clear a planet and really L. Ron Hubbard. L. Ron Hubbard solved that with group processing, specifically providing the technology to help the masses in unfortunate times like this. There you go, guys. L. Ron Hubbard solved that with group processing. Have y'all watched Reckless Ben video, Infiltrating Scientology? Have y'all watched that piece of investigative journalism that runs circles around all the pathetic pitches from the convicted, from the media that just goes, oh yeah, it's very religious in there. And then he put on a pair of Google glasses and went to one of these group processings where David, with a straight face, is telling people that the way to solve terrorism is to, grab a bunch of adults that get told, look around here and find something you could touch. And they all go, I could touch that wall. Thank you. Look around here and find something you could touch. I could touch a wall. Thank you. And they do that for an hour. And apparently this is how L. Ron Hubbard solved terrorism. How does adults locking themselves up in a room being told stupid things about look here and look there, is that gonna solve terrorism? Because it's being written by the one that everybody goes, oh, he's so smart, he's so wonderful, and he's so great. And yet is giving Gail Armstrong, editor of the Freedom Magazine, typing all the fear-mongering right behind David. Likewise, we have the means to reverse the cycle of materialism, so all the mess and only live once is no longer the mantras of modern society. That's where the nation of America stood on September 11, 2001, where happiness was defined by the buck. And if that didn't bring happiness, and it never has, then just take a mood-altering pill. I mean, again, it's giving that you are projecting that you have no access to any type of mood-altering pills that we would argue on your behalf y'all need, giving your level of disassociation from reality. Literal disassociation right here. And yes, happiness defined by the buck. I mean, who's more money obsessed than Debbie Cook yelling and screaming at child slaves, make me more money, make your quota or you're going to be washing dishes all night. Who's money hungry? Why is David calling other people money hungry when they couldn't be more money hungry inside of the hotels for themselves? Because that's literally what they do there all day. Only when a society has lost its spiritual values or relegating them to a passing thought to cover all bases just in case there is an afterlife can a scene deteriorate in a flash as it just has. The public knows other religions have failed. Every one of them had an organizational goal of peace, love, and compassion. And yet, one by one, they became involved in war themselves, all because they lacked the technology to achieve their aims. Christianity, Islam, Judaism, you name it. So apparently breaking news to all of these idiots in Washington, D.C. that really go, let's all rub elbows with Scientology because we're all the same. All of these Judaist people that are doing this, all the Christians that are doing this, any Islamic people that are doing this, as Gail Armstrong and David Miscavige laugh their asses off as they literally sit there perched up in their delusion of grandeur, going, we're so much better than everybody. We have technology. Y'all have theology. Imagine how stupid can you possibly be to make that point. Imagine really do think for yourself. Again, for the 10 billionth time, religion relies on theology. Religion relies on books that have open to interpretation. Technology cannot be interpreted. Technology of L. Ron Hubbard cannot be interpreted. Technology of L. Ron Hubbard has to be done exactly what it says in the book by the convicted felon. So really, all about compassion and love not being achieved, David. You know what's not compassionate? To lock up a child against their will. You know what's not compassionate? To lock up their passport. You know what's not compassionate or loving? To tell a child that they're an adult. None of that is compassionate or loving, and yet your technology calls for that. So really do double check what in the hell you are saying. All except us. Oh, you guys, please. All except Scientology. Breaking news. Judaism, you have failed. All the people in Israel, you couldn't be more of an abysmal failure, all of you. All the people from Islam, you couldn't be more of an abysmal failure, all of you. All you Christians, you couldn't be more abysmal failures, because guess what? David Miscavige did tell us at the hotel 23 years ago that we were the only ones doing it right, that all other religions suck, that they were all stupid. I mean, and we've said this a million times, but now we have the actual receipt to prove it. This is the receipt, long receipt that we have to prove that, yes, what are people being told? Oh, Scientology really has the real answers, you guys. Everyone else really effed up and they don't know what in the hell they're doing, because except us. So we must give them the tech too. Oh, is that why you're, hitting up what? The Nation of Islam to really give them the technology? Wink, wink. Is that what you're, really hitting up all other lobbyist groups, powerful DC lobbyist groups that you go cradle and canoodle with at DC, where you call them idiots behind their back? This is not a published receipt, you guys. David Miscavige doesn't want any person in Israel to read this. David Miscavige doesn't want any person that's a Christian to read this. David Miscavige doesn't want anyone that practice any religion to read this, because this is a insider's briefing only, for your eyes and ears only. We must have as many volunteer ministers as there are police, getting every being back to church. But this time, for the real help we can provide, which we must spread far and wide, so we unite all religions. Oh, so you want to, what is it? You're pitching a coup here. Pitching a little coup of religions. Let's really share some technology, you guys. You really could achieve what you want, but just, just use us. Just rely on us. We'll be your consultants. We'll be your groomers, is what's being pitched in this exact receipt by David Miscavige. All the while, we work to reform the field of mental health and return the word psyche to its real meaning, this spirit. Oh, isn't that great, you guys? That again, this fake Gail Armstrong pitch, that there's a reform in the mental health that they're really looking for, because they're really, really pressed that psyche is not meaning spirit. Meanwhile, for the 10th billion times, they want no children having access to any mandated reporters, because they know once the mandated reporters come, they all go straight to jail for centuries. So let's make sure that that is very clear, why they're so scared of the psychiatrists. If psychiatrists got a hold of every child these people are abusing, every single parent, every single adult would be locked up faster than their eyes and heads could spin. So let's make sure that that's clear for the public record. Kids not having mandated reporters anywhere in their childhood only helps the people that are full knowing, trying to perpetuate abuse on that child, and are already 10 steps ahead of law enforcement, covering up and hiding it all. That's what it's called. But never forget, the only permanent solution lies with moving every being up the bridge. Only the clear and OT will survive. Not just this civilization, but eternity. Isn't that great, you guys, that you can survive eternity? I mean, hope you all survive the eternity of the type of jail sentence that awaits you for having broken the law more times than anyone can count on an earth calculator. For eternity, you will all be condemned to live the rest of your life literally guilty AF of having violated the law, never having been reined in, never having attorneys on your speed dial that actually do their job. Across the nation and the world, people are saying that we must turn this tragedy to good and emerge stronger and better than before. But not one of them can say how. You can do something about it. As Scientologists armed with the technology, you have the power. Armed. Scientology people are armed. Armed. What other religion arms their people? Armed with technology. What is the technology? The delusion that you can lock up a child against their will and call that therapeutic? Because that's giving armed right there. That's giving weaponizing your adult position. So for all the people that are confused, that's what Scientology adults are being armed with. Entitlement. Deranged levels of indefensible entitlement that they give themselves to systemically abuse all kids. Yes, we said it, all. All kids get subjected to the same level of disgusting abuse because all adults inside those hotels agree that whatever David said here is exactly reality. That's why we call them infantile degenerates, you guys. That's what you call an infantile degenerate. If you're being told as an adult how to act, how to do your finances, what to do with your kids, if you're outsourcing all your decisions to a hotel, to being told, then there it is. There it is. So this is a wake-up call for every Scientologist. The only line that we agree in this entire disgusting bulletin that you put out for yourself decades ago, David. This is a wake-up call for every Scientologist. Current and ex. If you were there before, you saw it, you paid for it, you witnessed it, and you got serviced by children. Leaving the threshold of the hotel did not erase that reality. So let's make sure that that's very, very clear for the people in the back, for the ex community that want to go, oh, but you know, nobody knew anything. You all knew it. Were you a consenting adult when you got ensnared in this? Yes or no? It's a yes or no answer. If you were a consenting adult, then you do have criminal liability by breaking the law. That's how criminal liability occurs, okay? So that's to make sure that you're very, very clear on that. The more you break the law as a grown adult, the more criminal liability starts stacking up. Felonies on top of more felonies, on top of more crimes, on top of more racketeering, wire fraud, aggravated child abuse, kidnapping, child trafficking. Look it up. Look it up in the actual legal dictionaries. Ask ChatGPT. Contrary to what David says, oh, computers don't help anybody. Well, didn't that backfire for you, David? Because, you know, ChatGPT can tell you what constitutes child trafficking. So for all of you that wants to go, oh my God, sir, just so hyperbolic, he's so crazy, and he's so just like, look it up. Ask ChatGPT yourself. Facilitate that question and answer for yourself so you can fact check us. Because by all means, fact check us and tell us that locking up a child inside a hotel room indefinitely with a power dynamic that cannot be defended doesn't constitute a criminal act. We would love to hear from the attorneys that really want to counteract that exact statement of what the law states in black and white, not your L. Ron Hubbard bullshit green on white bulletins that mean nothing. Not your bullshit L. Ron Hubbard bulletins, oh, the red and white really is the technology. Not those. That technology led you to entitlement, to commit criminal acts, and to pretend that crimes that you're committing under the influence of a convicted felon don't stick to you because you wanted to save our world. What was that line on that film that Mitch Brisker put out about confessional TRs? Oh yeah, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So let's bring that little line right back and shove that all over the Scientology parents' faces so they actually start confronting evil. Confront it. It's going to do you good to confront what you did. It's going to make you feel better when you know what this is. What's not going to make you feel better is to continue to abuse children and nobody giving a single shred of a literal F. Not one can afford to turn a blind eye to what has just happened. Too much depends on what we can and must accomplish. I believe you already know that indeed our orgs have been flooded with calls asking, what should we do? So there you go. For all of those who think, oh, Serge, the adults weren't really outsourcing their entire life to a hotel, staffed with children, including but not limited to that. Oh, ethics officer, what should I do? How can I help? What can we do? And let's really see what type of fake pitch David Miscavige gives here. Oh yeah, the answer is twofold. Get up the bridge. Right now you are the lucky ones. You know the road out. L. Ron Hubbard urged, don't waste brief breath in eternity. Take advantage of the opportunity we still have and the opportunity which can only continue to exist as long as many travel the bridge. With recent events, I need not further explain that to you. It does matter that you take a course. So there it is, David Miscavige pitching all his grown adults to go get a grooming course taught by underage children with teddy bears and dolls. Putting it off until later or fitting it into 2 hours a week in between other interesting activities, quote unquote, will not do. Your future as a being is at stake. So in the future of those you love and the world at large. So just so you know how grotesque this little quote here is. It does matter to you that you take a course and putting it off later won't do and fitting in 2 hours a week won't do. Well, guess what was Debbie Cook's favorite next level of torture for us, the kids, that they were tapping to give the grooming courses to the disgusting adults that were paying for it. Go and harass the adults. Plenty of adults that lived in Clearwater, they were like, okay, I'm going to come to course, but you know what? I'm just going to be there for 2 hours, like David just said here. And Debbie Cook made it our job to resolve the adult's entire life. Well, what can we do? Well, what other hour could you come? Well, could you ask your boss for time off here? Can we do this? Can we do that? It was our job to solve all of these adults' life's problems so that they would be on course, because David Miscavige said that if only on course for 2 hours, the world is going to get destroyed. And that's what Debbie Cook was yelling and screaming at us. Oh, you really want to get the world to destroy itself because you're too namby-pamby and too reasonable, letting adults only do 2 hours a week? So yes, it was the neck of children that were put on the line. If grown-up adults that were paid member patrons that had to be spoken to with cotton balls, because if you told one of these adults, you need to be on course or otherwise you're going to be in a lot of trouble. like the adults used to scream at us. If you were like that to the paid patrons of the hotel, they would go, oh, I've been insulted. Let me go to the L. Ron Hubbard host. L. Ron Hubbard has a host in every one of these hotels. So if you're feeling pressed about the way that the children are speaking to you, you can go and go, that child just screamed at me. And the LRH host, who's put on a top senior position at the hotel, I mean, again, delusion grandeur, but yes, the LRH host is supposed to be the literal personification of L. Ron Hubbard. They represent L. Ron Hubbard. They're supposed to channel L. Ron Hubbard. So when you talk to an LRH host, which were usually grown, I mean, one grown woman that ran all the underage children that she had underneath her, becoming LRH hostess. And then those young girls would be screaming at the kids. You screamed at a public. You made a public cry. You made a grown-ass woman cry. And then they would go put a complaint on you. Oh yeah, that child really screamed at me. Okay, well now you're going to go wash dishes for the next 3 days. You're going to be interrogated. You're going to be in trouble. So all the time putting kids in impossible positions because that was their favorite sadistic thing to do. It does matter that you avail yourself of auditing and move personally up the bridge. Again, your eternity is at stake. Help the crusade. So we do pull this as a big win. We have the technology for the 10 billionth time. Technology. We have the technology. Never once is theology ever mentioned in a so-called highly religious enterprise. Imagine that. But in the end, it must be used. So let me ask, who is going to apply it? Let's face it, the answer to that question requires a lot of me's if we're going to end the dwindling spiral of this civilization. In what world are you ending the dwindling spiral of a civilization, David Miscavige, when you are literally architecting, where you are enabling the dwindling spiral? When children were told that they were adults, that's the dwindling spiral. When children were groomed with teddy bears and dolls to get kidnapped, that's the dwindling spiral. When parents were normalizing dumping the kids inside of a disgusting hotel where everybody knew how gross the children got treated and everybody was okay with it, that's the definition of dwindling spiral. You're creating the dwindling spiral. And all of your idiots that really go for you for advice are just being taken down that dwindling spiral right with you, because that's how the cult works. They want them all criminal up to their neck and ears. That's how they start identifying as like, well, this is where I am. I mean, where else am I going to go after being this level of degenerate? A Scientologist and auditor is no one who sits around in amazement at what he knows. He acts by using the technology to end the endless cycle of insanity one by one. So again, what type of cycle of insanity is being literally ended by literally instituting the insanity? Only the auditor can solve the source of aberration. Another key line right here for all of you guys, because just as we've told you a million trillion times, why isn't Emily pressed that Danny Masterson, convicted rapist that he is, did that? Because right here, one line explains that for everybody. Everything we do, he acts using the technology to end the endless cycle of insanity. Everything we do is to make an actual session possible. Only the auditor can solve the source of aberration. The source of aberration is the so-called source that made Danny Masterson have the idea that committing felonies on other women is something that could be addressed by an auditor. I know it sounds insane. I know it's beyond common sense. I know it's indefensible. I know it's completely shocking. And yet there it is, David admitting to everybody. Self-admitted pedos, we can fix the aberration, get them to an auditor. Ponzi schemers, a la Reed Slatkin, a la Grant Cardone, a la Gary Cardone. Oh, we'll handle their aberration at the hotel. Get your tax write-off, call up the IRS, transfer $100,000, and we'll get a child to start interrogating you to really start dealing with your aberration. That's the services that are being offered in Scientology hotels. Let's really de-aberrate you. That is why auditors are the most valuable beings on earth. Oh yeah, that's what they told us at the hotel, you guys. Oh my God, you guys, you have no idea how valuable you are. This is, and it takes a lot of backup in administrative staff and orgs and missions to make it happen. Yes, we're a bigger and more influential than any previous year, and that size makes expansion easier. We have stable basis of operation where our cult and social betterment activities can continue to flourish with even more on the way. But as anyone can now see, we must move much faster and much bigger. We must move well beyond the make-break point of planetary basis. What is the make-break point? Is the point below which one struggles, which internal demands necessary to survival, and which prevents every staff member of every organization from looking outwards. And so dedicating his full attention and energies to accomplishing our aims. Going back to what did you say was fixating people, David? Pornography? Well, your pitch is giving also that level of fixation. Since you're literally demanding that all staff members of the organization are looking outwards. Don't look outwards. Be dedicated inwards. Today, we do have a large organization, but all of them must expand and be large. No org can wait to be better before they get big. The way to do better is to get big. An org with a few dozen staff will struggle. With 200, it will thrive and really expand. After all, it takes numbers to perform the full role of a Scientology cult. Lots of auditors, lots of supervisors, lots of people to lecture and provide introductory services, lots of people to further disseminate into the communities, and the administrative staff to groom these staff and keep the lines administered so we can provide Scientology services. So there you go, you guys. They're pressed to get lots of child auditors, lots of child supervisors. Lots of children were in that hotel providing these services. Is indefensible. Everybody knew, everybody was aware. There's not a single Scientologist that can say, I was not aware. If you enter the hotels, if you got clearances by Debbie Cook to enter the hotels, you are implicated up to your neck and ears. So good luck pretending that you didn't know. Good luck pretending that you had no shred of a literal clue, because that pitch isn't going to work going forward. Beyond that, it also requires we expand by establishing more cult hotels and commercial buildings, each one in turn composed of large numbers, 10,000 missions, 1,000 class 5 orgs. Is not just a nice figure to postulate in the future. It must become a reality. But again, that requires every Scientologist doing their part. Right, David? Every Scientologist doing their part in donating their children to be enslaved by me, by Shelley Miscavige, by Debbie Cook, and by all the other sycophants of David that were running those schemes for him. Perhaps in the past, some haven't seen the urgency. Perhaps it didn't seem real. Perhaps it seemed like we had a lot of time. Well, it's a lesson we must learn one time or another. The social veneer of this world only makes it appear that all it's fine, but it just takes one event to bring the curtains down and expose the facade. Isn't that great, David, that it's only taken one event of Scientology industry plant Emily Armstrong being put to replace a child of unthinkable essay assaults to really want to influence the world through your sham celebrity industry plant program. It only took that event for people to really start connecting a dot. It's only taken that event for people to increase their perception of what you do to the children in that hotel, given who you placed in that position to replace who exactly. One event is all it took. In recent years, we have emerged from our own struggle for survival. More than 40 years of war with the IRS. See how enamored with our little, struggle for survival? Struggle for survival because you were committing and always intended to be committing illegal acts. That's why you struggled to survive. Back in the day, there were a few IRS agents that had a shred of spine. You managed to literally take all the IRS people's spines out of them, and now they're all just a bunch of spineless, nothing to do with me club. Take as many millions of donations as you want. We will hook you up at the IRS. So imagine that they're gloating about how that war really ended up going really well for them. It achieved the recognition that every church-related organization nationwide, Interpol as a global purveyor of Black propaganda is now distributing What is Scientology world over. So for anybody that didn't think this was a planetary hijacking of all law enforcement agents, here's David Miscavige literally bringing up Interpol. So let's call out Interpol. We never even think that Interpol had anything to do with anything, but apparently Interpol is now spreading What is Scientology to people. Apparently Interpol is also about child trafficking underage kids. Apparently Interpol is all about furthering the writings, the pitchings of a convicted felon, so that apparently all children can be trafficked all across the world, and Interpol is just like, what? It's a religion. Like, what is anyone confused about? So yeah, thanks to David Miscavige, Interpol is now fully implicated. So add that to your list of people that don't do anything but literally suck up to L. Ron Hubbard, degenerate of degenerates, spreading What is Scientology books all over. And the foremost anti-religious hate group disbanded is now a distant memory. The Cult Awareness Network, you guys. The Cult Awareness Network, they're so proud of having disbanded, imagine. But you know what? The Cult Awareness Network also deserve to be disbanded. Because again, good luck you trying to intervene with adults. Focus on the goddamn kids. If any of these cult experts would have ever given an F about the kids and stopped intellectualizing abominations that, yes, breaking news to every single adult in the entire world. If you, as a grown adult, wants to pay, wants to sign consent forms, wants to be humiliated, if you're into people pooping in your face and paying for that, by all means, go do it. No one owes you getting saved from what you're paying and consenting as a full-grown adult to do. But double check if those kids are landing in those rooms where those depravities are taking place, because that's what crosses the line. So if the Cult Awareness Network would have been dedicated to saving the kids that were stuck at the hotel, if the Cult Awareness Network would have investigated, then they wouldn't have been disbanded by the child traffickers that were doing this to us. It's called, y'all missed their withhold. Y'all, it went over your head. All of these cult, America's obsessed. Oh, let's talk about cults, you guys. Let's talk about cults. Let's talk about cults ad nauseum. They're not that interesting. Grown men and women decide that it's they who are getting wherever it is that they get. when they sign up as grown adults to do whatever it is that they want to do, nobody owes you a rescue from that. Breaking news, it sucks to be you. It sucks to be an adult that makes a consenting adult decision that goes against their best interest. It does suck to be you. Hopefully, if you actually get the law enforcement agencies literally doing their job, literally figuring out that no child trafficking is just happening willy-nilly through the cults, through the religious pitch, through the religious loophole which they have carved out for themselves to falsely pitch that they're involved in anything religious. Where is the religion? You've seen the receipt out. Literal David Miscavige already said, Jewish people have no idea what in the hell they're talking about. Christians have no idea what in the hell they're talking about. Islamic people have no idea what in the hell they're talking about. They really should be tapping on Scientology. They really should be tapping on them. So, couldn't be more clear. It couldn't be more literally here, written by David Miscavige. Interpol, the global purveyor of black propaganda, is now distributing our books world over. So if there was ever a law enforcement agency responsible for expanding the reach of child trafficking, breaking news, Interpol, grooming people with a book, sending the book to people, sending the book to countries, utilizing their position and power to muddy the waters, to give credibility to disgusting child degenerates. Interpol is your people, right there. Interpol, according to David Miscavige, as alleged by David Miscavige. By all means, start writing letters to Interpol. Did you send out What is Scientology books all over, or was that another fake pitch from David? Because by all means, let's fact check with Interpol themselves. Factually, that was a tough fight in ensuring we would never lose the technology that L. Ron Hubbard worked a lifetime to provide. You mean the racketeering scam that L. Ron Hubbard and you have architected so that you have unfettered access to kids inside of every single one of your disgusting child trafficking, child abuse-ridden hotels? Got it. But we cannot let that work go in vain. If we fought so hard to secure it forever, then let's use it to win big. Every one of our orgs and missions are open. None have been affected by this tragedy. Isn't that great, you guys? That September 11 meant nothing to any orgs, except for the immediate help they are now going to provide to those lives that have been shattered. Isn't that great, you guys? Like what was it? The fire department of 9/11 being, brought Tom Cruise to really help with purification, cockamamie story pitched by a convicted felon. Let's really put all our firefighters to, start doing the purification rundown. Purification rundown pitched by a convicted felon is what Tom Cruise went with. It was Tom Cruise that was out there really helping the September 11 stuff. What would you have thought if the rescue workers in New York City stood to the side of the road waiting for another rescue worker to arrive at the scene? All the while, the wounded, trapped, waiting for help. Only to find out rescue workers thought that the other one was going to handle it. Well, isn't that just so perfect, you guys? Because that is the final part of the wake-up call for all the Scientology adults. Let's ask them now in a unit of time in this wake-up call edition. What would y'all have thought if the Scientology parents stood to the side of the road waiting for another parent to arrive at the scene, all while wounded and trapped children waited for help, only to find out that every Scientology parent thought that the other one was going to handle it? Well, we have a planet to salvage. Well, David, You have a whole bunch of hotels staffed with kids that need to be salvaged, staffed with kids that are getting no help by their parents. Their own parents put them there. Their own parents gave them to you. And until we do, we're looking at an entire population stuck to the trap forever. The only way to get out, until you do, all those children are trapped there forever. Until Emily Armstrong takes a stance against trafficking, all the children are going to be trapped there forever. Until every last adult that has subsidized the systemic institutional traffic as pitched by the man that you purported was a very religious figure in your life, go double check if that's a fact that you can really claim with a straight face. On the flip side, in this year 2024, Scientology parents, by all means, get a criminal attorney to help you craft a defense, because you're going to need to craft a defense. You're going to need to figure out why you did what you did. And we invite you to set the record straight, to come up with context to your situation. You are allowed an advocate that you pay to defend you. So by all means, go get yourself one. Go get yourself one quickly. The sooner you get it, the sooner this stops, the sooner the crimes against children are not being committed on a daily basis, the sooner it is for the children that are stuck at the hotel right now. That's all that matters. There's kids stuck there today. Kids that Emily and her mother are highly aware are stuck there, but are still going with, but we're just trying to save our world. What's everyone so pressed about? We just want to make a difference, make the world a better place. The only way to get out of the trap is by traveling the bridge. Wrong. The only way to get out of the trap is by going and consulting with a criminal attorney. The only way to get out of the trap is going and turning yourselves into the FBI and telling them, okay, we're about to come clean with y'all. We weren't having religious experiences at the expense of our own children. We didn't have a single religious experience given that our kids were put in harm's way. Because again, for the Scientology parents that really want to go, I was having so many religious experiences. You were sitting on top of a child, and you really want to claim that sitting on top of a child, asphyxiating a child, is a religious experience? Damn. How disgusting. How grotesque. How unthinkable. How indefensible. If you didn't see it like that before, see it like that today. L. Ron Hubbard told you, man can and won't confront evil. He was counting on the evil not being confronted. So he literally told you what he was counting on for all of this abuse to be. And yet all these Scientology parents sit there on the sidelines pretending that, but we had the best of intentions. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. And all of your disgusting intentions about really saving a planet are literally being revisited 74 years later. And all that we see is excrement all over the hotel walls. All we see is the blood of all the kids that have been sacrificed for the benefit of adults that haven't repudiated it, have not had a wake-up call, haven't given it up, haven't come clean, haven't told not just part of a withhold, but the entirety of the withhold, the entirety of what they don't want the literal FBI to know. So before you go, oh, what do you mean? Those were the questions. What would you want the FBI to know about you? So yeah, let's bring that question right back today. And let's have all the Scientology parents that are very indoctrinated, very well groomed on honesty is the way to really clean your hands and have a happy life. Go have that happy life by start cleaning your hands. Go have that happy life by admitting what in the hell you did. Go have that happy life by stopping what's been done to kids. Cut deals with the FBI. put your testimony on the line, whatever it takes for it to stop. We don't give an F. We're demanding for it to stop. We're demanding for you to take accountability. We're demanding for you to have transparency. We're prying your eyes open. We're screaming at you in this wake-up call 23 years later, after we were locked up in those hotels, being given this disgusting fake pitch by Captain David Miscavige. The only means to accomplish that is hundreds of thousands of field auditors, tens of thousands of missions, and thousands of orgs. So they want their hotels and their disgusting commercial buildings in the thousands. Imagine how they haven't accomplished jack nothing of that. Because again, all of this, we really want to expand you guys. We really want to be all over the place. Bullshit. Every single person that walks through the doors of your hotels is highly selected, curated, and profiled to make sure that they fit what you need in order to use your disgusting grooming program. So before everybody goes, oh, they really want to help everybody. They want to help the ones they know they can stick their fangs in. They spotted our parents' vulnerabilities and they stuck their fangs in there. And then they turned them into the zombies. Then they turned them into an L. Hubbard sycophant. That's the tragedy. We will never know who our parents are outside of all the pitches regurgitated by them of what L. Ron Hubbard told them to say, L. Ron Hubbard told them to do, L. Ron Hubbard told them to decide, L. Ron Hubbard told them to choose. We'll never know. We'll never know who they are. There was no humanity left in them by the time L. Ron Hubbard had his way with our parents. That's the tragedy. We had no parents. We had zombies. We had robots. We had degenerates that were entitling themselves to sadistically abuse us and tell us they were helping us. While the job may be overwhelming, consider this: we were once just one man, and today we are millions. Yeah, consider that, IRS. It was once upon a time just one convicted felon full of deranged, disgusting, indefensible ideas. And then he went around recruiting other sycophants. To what? To think like him, to act like him, to quote things like him, to think like him, to think children are adults, because that's what L. Ron Hubbard told us. So yes, L. Ron Hubbard couldn't be more of your daddy figure for all of you Scientology parents. He's not your God. He's your daddy figure. Stop being infantile. Grow a pair. Literally find a spine. Find your nearest spine doctor to implant a spine in your literal body so you can actually start standing up for something and not just better luck next lifetime to all the kids being abused. In other words, we have the numbers to actually pull it off. It only requires enough of them to say yes to a single question. Will you please help us? Oh, yeah, because that's what you want, right, David? You just want a little helpy welpy. Will you please give us your kids? Will you please get tax write-ups and incriminate yourselves with us? Will you please just do that? Would you please help us save our world by doing that? L. Ron Hubbard gave us the answers. Let's never forget the call he issued in the final sentence of book 1. Oh, great, you guys. We're going to get book 1 again. So for all of you who really, again, for the 10 billionth time, we've already said it again, but we're going to say it again. Book 1, where he says, passionately kiss 7-year-old girls and make it their problem. Project on the 7-year-old girl that is she who's having the issue. Book 1 couldn't be more the one book that is being brought up by David over and over and over. For God's sake, get busy and build a better bridge. Well, today we say to you, disgusting L. Ron Hubbard, for God's sake, get busy and start to come clean. For God's sake, get busy and start getting your real withholds off, Scientology parents. Start getting off your real crimes. Start giving us your cacamimi victim story that we don't have a shred of bandwidth to entertain, given that, yes, kids are at risk as we speak. Yes, there's not enough advocates. Yes, Emily, literal Emily, put there by her mother, is the poster child of this. And she's too pressed. She doesn't want to be told that she's wrong. She doesn't want to be told that there's anything to take accountability for. And we're pushing back. We're pushing back on all of those false narratives. There's plenty of things that people need to start taking accountability for, including all the criminal acts that were perpetrated on children, with everyone in those hotels, with everyone in that culture being all about it, being all about knowing about it, and have normalized it. It's not good enough to try to say, well, L. Ron Hubbard told us. When you're an adult and you need to defend your actions, it's not going to be enough that you say, oh, L. Ron Hubbard told us. You know who can defend themselves like that? The children. Oh, so why were you doing audits? Why were you asking for felonies? Why were you locking people in a room? Our parent told us. My mom told me to do that. My dad told me to do that. Debbie Cook told me to do that. David Miscavige, grown-ass adult that he was, told us to do that. And we showed you all the receipt in David's own words. He was telling people to do it. Children didn't know because they were groomed. Adults have the responsibility and the criminal liability to really double check what in the hell they're doing, really double check what in the hell they're paying for, really double check what type of contracts they are signing, given that Scientology contracts are like this, pages and pages long. So anyone that wants to say, but nobody knew anything, people have known. People have known since the very first day. But L. Ron Hubbard was right. The one thing man can't and won't confront is evil. So congratulations. Y'all fell for that disgusting man's spell. Well, you know what? This is your wake-up call to, just like this, magic. Spell gone. Reality fact achieved. There's your severe reality adjustment, David Miscavige. There's your severe reality adjustment, Gail Armstrong. There's your severe reality adjustment, Emily Armstrong. There's all of you get a severe reality adjustment compliment of all the kids that were abused there. You, Emily, can be on our side. You, Emily, can stand on the sidelines of what's right. You're being invited to do so. You can repudiate it. You can call it out. It wasn't your fault what happened to you. But if you continue doing that as an adult, then it does start becoming your fault, doesn't it? If you become aware and you just want to go, oh, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I'm so right. Everybody misunderstands me. We don't misunderstand you, Emily. We understand you way more than we would have ever expected to understand anybody, given that we were given that level of front row seat at the dysfunction, given that we have given ourselves the access to actual, real, licensed therapists, psychiatrists, mandated reporters that have helped us connect a shred of a dot in the aftermath of what was done to us as kids. 9/11 calls for a wake-up call, a universal wake-up call for all Scientology parents, a universal wake-up call for all law enforcement of this world. As if David didn't just tell us that the Interpol, David just literally implicated the Interpol as disseminating Scientology to people. So, in what world are not all law enforcement agencies purporting they really are about enforcing laws, while on the other side of their mouth, allegedly, according to David Miscavige, distributing the propaganda of a convicted felon that was all about normalizing the full erosion of common sense boundaries between children and adults. That's what's being called into question today. And on the literal day, September 11, we started our live at 11:11. And you know what? We are on the flip side. And we have the facts and we have the receipt. This highly incriminating receipt. Y'all can Google it. The Wake Up Call by David Miscavige. And let's not forget, here's all the addresses of where children are being trafficked. Flag Service Organization run by Debbie Cook, 210 South Fort Harrison Avenue, Clearwater, Florida. Flag Service Consultant ANSO, so that's for Australia, New Zealand. There you go. The address for Australia. SMI ANSO, this is for the missions of Australia. This is for the auditors of Australia and the International Association of Scientologists. So for anybody that wants to go, but Emily doesn't even do Scientology. She's part of the International Association of Scientologists. She has to have a paid membership to that association. She has to renounce that membership. She has to stop paying for that membership because payment equals you being in on it. Emily's still being afforded the benefit of the doubt today because, yes, a lot of these kids that grow up in this disgusting level of betrayal, blindness, do get put in positions we wouldn't wish on our worst enemy. No adult that was brought there as a child deserves what's being done to them. No child that didn't consent to be brought up like this, consent to be groomed through disgusting courses, consent to be put in disgusting extreme role plays with adults. No child that grew up like that deserved it, given that they never were in on it. That's the only difference between adults and children. Adults were in on it. Children were the pawns in this grand racketeering scheme that we would love to understand from any law professor in this country to really start typing to us how this is not racketeering. That's what we need to know today. How is this not racketeering? How is it not? How is it not child trafficking? How is it not aggravated child abuse? How is it not aggravated kidnapping? How is it not? And by all means, while you're at it, religious attorneys that want to really type that, tell us how it is a religion. Go to Monique Yingling and have her literally start typing that. Or go to Gail Armstrong and put an entire Freedom magazine on how abuse of children is America's religion. Because as of 1993, we have the IRS stating that child slavery is America's religion. We have the IRS stating that giving self-admitted PDF files, multi-million-dollar sweetheart deals. We're talking sweetheart AF. Y'all that talk about, oh, Jeffrey Epstein really got a sweetheart deal. BS. BS. He got a sweetheart deal for the law, but you know who gets a better sweetheart deal? The people at the Scientology Hotel. They don't get any, no house arrest, no nothing. Nothing happens to them. They just get told that their needle floated. They provide a very, very safe space for self-admitted felons at the hotel. And by all means, LAPD, start typing how people that are self-admitted felons, including but not limited to the self-admitted PDF files, can claim that abusing a child in your jurisdiction. Miriam Francis was abused in your jurisdiction. You had the admission of her father telling you he did it. Imagine Miriam Francis' father is the only one that's of these parents that has gone on record and owned it. Only for him to not get anything. But I mean, at least he owns it. At least he says, yeah, I did it. It's fucked up that I did it. At least he's been transparent with law enforcement, transparent with the LAPD, but the LAPD doesn't give an F about children. That's the point. The LAPD can be told that the abuse is happening, and with that same level of indifference, go and chase butterflies. Go and cozy up to the people inside of these hotels committing unthinkable abuse on kids. That's what it's called. So let's continue raising awareness, you guys. Let's continue literally raising and sounding the alarm, because there cannot be any more kids stuck inside of these Scientology hotels. It's disgusting, it's illegal, and it needs to stop at the voice of now. Not next lifetime, not in 20 years, now. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all soon. Bye-bye.